Hey everybody, welcome back to another in-depth companion overview. I'm talking a little softly today, I hope y'all can hear me, but a lot of people are asleep in this house right now, don't want to wake anybody up. So, I did this last week with my Musketeer, but I figured we might as well do it on all my other characters too. I'm currently chilling in Miranda. I've been farming for Captain Blood's jacket to no avail, but without further ado, let's get into it. So firstly, I will break down how I separate companions. I separate companions based off whether they're better for offense, defense, or just collecting gear. Now, I think that some people separate this from PvP to PvE, but I prefer separating this from offense to defense and trash. So going off with my offense, as you can see, I've got a lot of companions on my Buccaneer. Normally this class gets the least, but I wanted to invest in getting a lot of decent companions. They're companions I've always wanted. So starting off with what I think she's a very good first three. I talked about this a little bit more in my Buccaneer overview. But right now we have Peter Quint, who has Whale's Might, Brutal Charge, and Super Strike. Very, very good companion. A lot of these companions that you get from your trainer, I don't know their exact name, what they call these companions, but just the Whale's Might and everything like that, they're all super good, and I fully recommend having a lot of them in your top three. I could see you maybe not doing it with the one you get as a privateer, but for most of your other classes, having this one as your first mate is almost a priority. I would put him as a very, very good offensive companion. Currently, I have him set up with, he comes with Pirate 3 and Turn the Tide 2, and I think he comes with, he might come with Relentless, actually. He might come with Relentless, but right now I have with Relentless 2, Blade Storm 2, Vengeance Strike 2, and Second Chance. If I could redo this build at all, I'd probably give him Vengeance Strike 3, but he does miss quite a bit, even though his accuracy is not that bad. He also comes with really good armor and strength, especially the armor. The armor can help. Currently my talent build is as this. Trying to see if I can get the resistance up with the next upgrades. Moving on to number 2, we have Goronado. Now this is one you have to beat Gortez 25 times in order to get, which I did do on this guy, obviously. But I think he's it's very much worth it for Buccaneers to get this companion. He comes with Guerrilla Warfare, which lets you hit all adjacent enemies, and a Vicious Charge, which is really, really good. My only drawback for Goronado is I wish he came with Turn the Tide 2 or Turn the Tide 3. As you can see, you get extra accuracy with Turn the Tide 2 as opposed to just the damage with Turn the Tide 1. But he's still pretty good otherwise. I have him with Blade Storm 2, Relentless 2, and Vengeance Strike 2, which I think is a very good build. He crits a lot for me, and he has very good armor, just like Peter Quint. And he comes one level higher than your current player. Moving on to some more of my Crown Shop guys, I have Temujin rounding up my top 3 because I really, really like him, and he comes with the Buccaneer Smash, which is good against Swashbucklers and Musketeers. So I normally send him after the Musketeers and just have him finish him. But he's got the Vengeance Strike 3, the Relentless 2, and Blade Storm 2, and Turn the Tide 2. So I round up with a very good offensive set for my first 3. But I really recommend getting him. If you're a Buccaneer, I definitely recommend him over some of these other guys that I have. But I got a lot of these companions when they were on sale. Moving on to Zhang Cha, who I think is on sale currently. I just really liked him on my privateer. I wanted to see how he was on the Buccaneer. I think he's a very good fill-in in case Temujin dies or something like that. But I would say Temujin's just a little better. But he comes with a Buccaneer Smash just like Temujin, and a Super Strike 3. Or just Super Strikes plus 3, I think they already have that. Then Turn the Tide 2, First Strike 2, Blade Storm 2, Relentless 2. Then I have a Second Chance because he misses quite often. Armor's not as good, but still pretty solid companion in case Temujin falls, who's got a lot better armor. Moving on to Finn Dorsal, who's a really solid companion. I recommend getting him. He crits a lot for me, and I really like that. But he comes with a Epic Strike and Pirate, and Turn the Tide 2, Repel Borders 2, Relentless 2, and Blade Storm 2. You can probably build him any way you want. This is just how I prefer to build him. I really would like it if you could get Relentless 3, but he only comes with one promotion. and you get him from defeating him 3 times in the 3 different quests that he comes up. But I really like this guy, and I just wanted to get him. I wouldn't recommend him. I'd recommend Temujin and Coronado above, but you know, he's an interesting one to have. Moving on to more of my Crown Shop companions, I have Tyson, who's a really fun companion to have. He was really good on my Musketeer, but very useless to use on your Musketeer. So I have him. He comes with an Epic Strike, Turn the Tide 2, Relentless 2, Bladestorm 2, and Repel Borders 2. Now he comes with I think 2 or 3 promotions, which is pretty cool. But I really liked him on my Musketeer, and I'm glad I can use him a lot more here. But yeah, I wouldn't recommend getting him. He comes with pretty decent stats, pretty bad armor, but okay stats overall, and 2 levels higher than your pirate. Moving on to this, my most recent companion. I probably got him maybe a week ago, but we have the Cutthroat Pirate, who is okay. I wouldn't put him above anybody, and right now I'm liking the round off for where I have these guys. I might move them up or move them down, throughout this like I did on my Musketeer. But I have him right below Tyson right now, just because I like Tyson's build a little more. But he comes with an Epic Strike and Pirate and Turn the Tide 2. But he comes with Cheap Shot, and I decided to give him Bladestorm 2, Relentless 2, and a Vengeance Strike. I think he comes with 1 or 2, I think 2 promotions. So he doesn't get a lot of epics for the 2 promotions, but he's still a pretty solid companion. And just a nice one to have. Pretty decent armor, compared to Tyson at least, but I think that Tyson's a little bit better to use for me, personally. Another companion that you get on Privateer that I wanted to get on my Buccaneer was Tonka, the Bison Hero. You get him on your Privateer, I believe in book 6? I think book 7. And he's a pretty fun companion. I think he is okay. He'd be a lot better if he came with an Epic Strike, kind of like Black Angus, but he has Relentless 2, Bladestorm 2, and Vengeance Strike, and he comes with Hold the Line and Turn the Tide 2. I think he gets 1 or 2 promotions. I think it's just 1, but I really liked him, and I'm glad I can use him on this guy. Now that I am thinking about it, I probably could interchange these guys. I like Tonka for the Bladestorm 2, but I like Black Angus for the Epic Strike. And now we'll move on to Black Angus, although Tonka does have good armor. We'll move on to Black Angus, who's a little worse armor, but he comes with an Epic Strike and Turn the Tide. I gave him Riposte 2. I think he comes with Riposte, so I give him Riposte 2, Relentless 2, and a Bladestorm. And I'd have him right below Tonka right now. But I've done more work with the build on my Buccaneer than I have my Musketeer, so I don't know how much I'll be changing. But that's how, I just really liked Black Angus, so I really wanted to get him on my Buccaneer. But you get him on your Privateer, I think, in book 9. I'm pretty sure in book 9. Moving on to the actual companions that you do get, is Hercules, which is really useful to use on your Buccaneer. Definitely a lot more useful than other classes. But right now I have him with an Epic. He comes with an Epic Strike, and I think he comes with Vengeance Strike. So he has Turn the Tide, Vengeance Strike, Relentless 2, and Bladestorm 2. I think it'd be really, really perfect if he came with Turn the Tide 2, or maybe another Epic, but who knows, maybe he'll get a promotion in the next update, hopefully. Yeah, but I really like Hercules. I think that he could be exchanged with Black Angus, but I really like Riposte 2, so I think I'm good with this build right now for having Hercules right there. Going back to some more Crown Shop companions, I wanted to get Coronado Bravo, however you say that, because he was pretty fun to use on my Swashbuckler. But I just like his build. I like the First Strike 3, and I like the Riposte 3 and Bladestorm 2. Now, this is probably the first defensive companion y'all have seen right now. I think he's really, really good to use in defensive situations. He's really good against Swashbucklers because he can spot sneak attacks with First Strike 3. And I really like having him on my Swashbuckler. I think he'd be really good in PvP. So I'm sure people who have used play PvP get him for the First Strike 3 and then Riposte 3 and everything. But he's really good to have. Comes with really good armor, especially compared to these past couple guys. But he's pretty fun to use. I'd probably put him ahead of Hercules, honestly. Just because Hercules, I like Hercules and he has really good powers, but Coronado's just, or no, Giordano or whatever, is really fun to use. Moving on to Argos, another Crown Shop companion I got during the sale. He is not super, super good, but I like him, so I wanted to get him. He comes with an Epic Strike, a Turn the Tide, Vengeance Strike, Relentless 2, and Blade Storm for me. I think if you are a Privateer, you get him in Aquila. And he's okay to use as a Privateer, just to give you a little bit of a boost, but he doesn't come with super high armor. And he's a pretty interesting companion to have, though, just because he's the only Cyclops, and it's pretty interesting. But now that I am looking at him, I'd actually probably put him behind maybe Dead Mike, but we'll move on to Ratbeard, and we'll figure out where I'll put Argos. Moving on to Ratbeard, who I think is the quintessential Buccaneer defensive companion, because he comes with, you can get him Hold the Line 3 and Repel Borders 3, which is really good. Just reduce the dodge and reduce the accuracy, and that's usually how I build my Ratbeard. Then you can do Blade Storm or First Strike or whatever you want. And he comes with a Triton Song, Clear the Decks after he's fully promoted, Buccaneer Smash, and then a Super Strike, Turn the Tide 2, and a Pirate. And he's just really good for defensive situations. So I think I'd put him above Argos right now. Going on to Dead Mike, I really liked having him on my Buccaneer. I think if I could redo it, I'd probably put him on my Witch Doctor, but that's okay. Comes with a Super Strike, a Pirate. I think he came with one Riposte, and he also has Turn the Tide 2. He's a pretty good defensive companion. He does come with Vengeance Strike 2 and everything, so you could probably build him for a more offensive build. I think if I redid this, I would get rid of Second Chance and see if I could give him Vengeance Strike 3. But I really like him. He's a pretty funny companion story-wise, and just cool looking. But looking at him, I could see him maybe being interchanged with Ratbeard. I prefer having Ratbeard ahead, just because Ratbeard comes with a lot more talents, even though Dead Mike does have a lot of damage for level 70, especially. Which is why I'm going to put him ahead of Argos. And now that I'm looking at it, I might put Barnabas ahead of Argos. But Barnabas is another really, really solid companion, defensive-wise. He comes with super high armor, and a Brutal Charge, a Buccaneer Strike, which is good against Swashbucklers and Musketeers, a Triton Song, good for defense, and a Super Strike. He comes with Turn the Tide 2, and I think he comes with a Hold the Line, which is a really, really good talent to have. So I normally build him with Hold the Line 3, Blade Storm 2, Second Chance, and Vengeance Strike. I think if I could redo this, I'd probably give him Vengeance Strike 2 and try to see if I can get a Vengeance Strike 3 build when they update the game. But I think he's pretty solid right now. I'm going to put him ahead of Argos. Just now that I'm looking at it, Argos is not super good. So I'll put him ahead of Argos purely because he's really nice in defensive situations. Moving on to Bosun Bud, who I got pretty recently. I didn't get him during the sale, but I got him pretty recently. And I just wanted to see how he was. And he is not that good. But he's an interesting companion. He's a very interesting companion. He'd be even better if he could get Riposte 3, but he can't. But I really like him. He's really nice to have these heals. He pretty much cannot die. It's really hard for him to die. And he has these Starfish Shuffles, which are pretty cool to use. I wonder if you can boost them using Old Scratch, but I don't know. But he comes with Pirate and Turn the Tide, and I think he comes with the Riposte. But I give him Riposte 2, Blade Storm 2, and Vengeance Strike 2, which is a pretty solid build, I think. I'm going to keep Argos ahead of him just because I prefer the more offensive side of Argos, even though Bosun Bud is a pretty interesting companion to use. So if I wouldn't recommend him, but he's pretty cool if you wanted to grab him. Moving on to actual Buccaneer companions, and we have Thunderhoof, who is really, really interesting, and now that I am looking at him, why is Argos ahead of Thunderhoof? Thunderhoof is so much better. So, we are going to do this. We are going to put Thunderhoof ahead of our Argos, even though Argos is a little bit more damage. Thunderhoof's got the armor advantage, and then the Relentless 2 and Blade Storm 2 is really, really nice. He comes with an Epic Strike. Buccaneers get him, I believe, in Book 5, I think. So he's a pretty interesting one to get early on, pretty helpful to get early on. But I'm going to put him right there for right now. Then we have Taro Momori, who's got okay armor and okay stats across the board. I wouldn't say he's amazing. Now that I'm looking at him, he's about the same as Argos, except Argos has an Epic Strike at least. I think I'm giving Argos too much credit, so I'm going to put Bosun Bud ahead of Argos. just right now. I really like Argos, and I wish he could be better, but that's just how I'm going to do it right now. But going back with Taro, that's pretty decent epics. He doesn't get Armored 4, which would be really nice to have, and I'd probably put him a little higher if he did. But he's okay. Blade Storm, Relentless 2, and Riposte, and Return the Tide. He's pretty decent to have when you get him in Mushu, but other than that, you really won't use him in late game situations. So I normally have him in the collection crew. Onto the more disappointing of the Crown Shop companions I got. I really wanted this guy to be good, but he is just not good at all. I would put him at trash if he didn't get so many epics, but his just talent pool isn't really that great to me. I think he's could be pretty cool to use, but his damage is so much lower than everybody, and his health is. His armor isn't that great, so I really don't think he's that good of a companion. Speaking of not good companions, we have Mad Claw, who they've updated a little bit, gave him these Ravenous Strikes recently, but he's just not super good. Has Riposte 2, Blade Storm, Repel Borders, Second Chance, and Vengeance Strike. I got him while he was on sale, so I just wanted to see how he was, and right now I'd put him at trash. Speaking of trash, we have the Lost Ranger, who's very disappointing because he's kind of cool looking, but he has no epics. He just gets Riposte 2, Blade Storm, and Second Chance with a Turn the Tide, and he has super low damage and even lower health than Oingo Boingo, so I'm going to put the Lost Ranger at trash. And that will cover my Buccaneer companion, so let's move on to my Musketeers. So we have Bonnie Ann here, who's just really good on every single class. Honestly, it's hard to be disappointed by Bonnie Ann. She's just such a good companion. This is the same build on all my other guys, so I'm not really going to go into much detail. But she's just so good with the heal and everything. So I'm going to probably put Bonnie Ann right around... I'll put her ahead of Findorsal because the heal is really nice to have. Then we have Billy the Kid here, who I had on my Musketeer recently, so I won't go into too much detail, but he comes with a Musketeer's Mastery, which is really good against Privateers and Witch Doctors for the reduced will. I gave him Quick Draw 2. I think he comes with a Quick Draw. And then Quick Draw 2, Double Tap 2, and Burst Fire 2. And I really like him. I think he's a pretty interesting companion, even though I can't use him super well because he is a Musketeer. I think he's a pretty entertaining companion to use. I would probably put him behind Bravo right now, just because I can't really use them a whole lot. If I had my choice of Musketeers, I'd pick Bonnie hands down over Billy the Kid, but that's where I would put him right now. This is someone I got recently. I've been farming the Beastmasters pack purely for the pet stuff, and I just happened to get this guy. It would be a lot nicer to have him on my Musketeer for this Eagle Eyes, but he's okay. I wouldn't put him as amazing. I'd probably put him behind Thunderhoof, just so I can use Thunderhoof a little more. Musketeers aren't really much of a priority, and you really don't want to use... I wouldn't really use them on a Buccaneer, personally. But I'd have him right there for right now. But I have him with Burst Fire 2, Double Tap 2, and a quick Adjust. But he's pretty cool looking, and I hope we get to get more bear companions if we ever get to go to Grizzleheim in this game. If we ever get to go anywhere in this game. But I think I'll put him behind Thunderhoof for right now. Moving on to Xena, which is a companion everyone gets, so I won't go into too much detail. But she comes with Rain of Fire and Epic Strike. I have her with Burst Fire 2, Double Tap 2, and I think she comes with Return Fire. She's pretty good. I would put her probably be ahead of Taro Mumori. Well, ahead of Argos. I think I'd have Bosun Bud ahead right now, just because I can use Bosun Bud more. But she's a pretty solid companion to have, especially through Aquila. I mean, she does use Burst Fire a lot and Double Tap a lot, so she is not a bad companion at all. And I mean, it's not a hard quest to get her, so I recommend getting her. We also have Rooster Cogburn here, who is not a bad companion. Nothing too crazy, nothing to write home about. But in terms of, again, Buccaneers can't really use him very well. So just from his build, I think I'm going to put him ahead of Taro Mumori, just because Taro Mumori is a little disappointing to me, and I think I like Rooster just a little bit more, though they can probably be switched around. Speaking of disappointing companions, we have Kang. That's my name for the Pig Raider Crossbowman, who comes with Burst Fire 2 and Double Tap. I almost wanted to get this guy on my Musketeer if his epic pool just wasn't so small. you really can't get a whole lot for him. And because of that, I'm going to put the Pig Raider Crossbowman ahead of the Mad Claw. Moving on to the Mustang Gaucho, who's also another disappointing companion for his epic pool. I'm actually going to put him... I wouldn't put him as trash right now. I don't think we have many trash companions. We'll see how many we end up with. But I'm going to put him ahead of Mad Claw, just because of the Burst Fire 2, but he is not actually... They're both pretty trash, but we'll see how it ends up working out. As for who my bottom companions are going to be. Then we have Esteban Caras, who I'm actually going to put ahead of the Pig Raider Crossbowman, because I really like the Overwatch 3 and the epic strike he comes with. He's a Monkey-to-the-Door sharpshooter that Buccaneers get in Book 3. He's pretty interesting to use. He doesn't have a big epic pool, but he comes with an epic strike and a promotion, so he's not that bad. Not too terrible. Not good. But in terms of trash companions, not many beat the Water Mole Slingman, who comes with a very small epic pool, and I don't even think he gets a promotion, so he is just too bad to even cover. I'm going to put him behind the Lone, or the Lost Ranger. So that covers my Musketeers. So let's move on to the Swashbucklers, and here we have El Toro, who's going to be one of the few Swashbucklers that probably make it up the list, purely because El Toro is just such a good companion to have. I'm actually going to put him ahead of Tyson right now. No, I'll put him ahead of Finn, because I really like the buff that El Toro gets, and then this Riposte 3, Relentless 2, and Bladestorm build that I have with him now. If he has another Bladestorm, he would be perfect, but that's where I'm going to put El Toro for right now. Moving on to Kobe, who's a really, really, really fun companion, who I'm going to put ahead of... I'm going to put him ahead of Finn, because I really like the Riposte 3. And he's pretty similar in the build to El Toro, but he comes with a Swashbuckler stab, which is really good against Buccaneers. So if you're fighting a bunch of tough Buccaneers you're having a tough time critting against, I would really bring him in. And then we have Contessa, who is okay. I don't really like my build on her. I might change it up later. Because I don't like her build, I'm going to put her... I'll put her behind the Cutthroat Pirate, because, I mean, the Riposte 3 might be better if I gave her Relentless 2, but this build just isn't too amazing to me, and she's not an amazing companion to me anyway, but that's where I'll have her. Moving on to Shiruku Neko, I notice I'm going a little fast on some of these guys, but I really don't use more than this top 4 for my companions, or any Buccaneer. I'll throw these guys around, but they're mostly here for show. Moving on to Neko, I really like her, and I would put her up pretty high. I'd probably put her, maybe not super high, maybe right ahead of Thunderhoof, just because I think she has a pretty good talent pool, but with the epic strike, but I can't really use her a lot because she's a Swashbuckler. I don't really buff her that much, so I'd probably put her right there for right now. She doesn't really come with much armor. Many of the Swashbucklers don't, but she's an alright companion. I think she's really helpful in Mushu. Moving on to the Eagle Hoplite, which is a pretty interesting companion, but he'd be a lot better if he had a better talent or an epic pool. But I currently have him set up with First Strike, Relentless 2, and Bladestorm. He has decent armor, but he could be a lot better, like if he had a better talent pool. So I'd probably put him right now ahead of... I might put him ahead of the Monkey-to-the-Door. Actually, I'd put him ahead of Oingo Boingo, because I would rather use him over Oingo Boingo, so that's just how I feel. Baga Khan is one I was disappointed was a Swashbuckler. He's so cool. He's just so cool looking. His talent pool isn't amazing. I think if I could redo this, I'd probably do Bladestorm 2, maybe Vengeance Strike 3, but he is just so cool. And because he's so cool, I'm going to put him ahead of the Hoplite. I won't use him a lot, but I mean, just look at him. Moving on to disappointing companions, we have the Monkey King, who I've already talked about as being a bit of a disappointment. I will put him ahead of... I'll put him ahead of Oingo Boingo just for the Riposte 3, and because of how disappointing Oingo Boingo is, but that's where I have Monkey King right now. I really wish he would get promotion or something, just so he can be useful. And then Ju Hao, I don't even think I'm going to move him. There is no doubt in my mind or anybody's mind that Ju Hao is trash. And there's no even reason to go over him. Look at this talent pool. It's just terrible. Going on to the privateers, we have Catbeard, who I really like, and I really wish him and Gracie got more promotion love. But I really like Catbeard, and I like the build I have for him with the Riposte 3, Relentless 2, and Bladestorm, which I think is pretty standard. But because he has such a good build, I'm actually going to put him higher than I would normally. I'd probably put him right above Gore. I'll put him right above Thunderhoof, just because he's a main companion. He's pretty cool looking, but I think that I can't really use him a whole lot since he's a privateer. But he's a pretty interesting one to have. We have Gracie Conrad, who is not bad, not terrible. I'd probably put her right ahead of Oingo Boingo because I really like her mines. I think those are pretty useful to have, especially if you do the Witch Doctor buff with Old Scratch. Well, she's a pretty interesting one to have. And rounding that out, we have the trash that is Nadia. She's good because she has a heal, and the Witch Hunter could probably be useful in PvP. But her just talent pool is so awful, and she's just so bad. Yeah, not much more to say there. Then we have Old Scratch, who I really don't use a lot here. He's the only Witch Doctor I have on the team. But, you know, he's a classic guy, and he's pretty useful to use with other people, so I'll probably have Old Scratch maybe right ahead of Gore. But I don't really use him much. You don't really have to use him much. I have him with the same standard build on all my other guys, so I'm not going to talk too much about it. But then now we'll see some more of my trash companions. So Kane Bass will make it to trash. Kang is going to make it to trash. So will the Sharpshooter. So will the Sumo Champion. And do I really want Gracie to be my trash? No, I don't. I think I'm going to put Tracy ahead then. We'll put her ahead of... Or we'll put someone behind her. We'll put the... What's the Hoplite round out the trash? We'll let that happen. I don't really want Gracie to be put down as trash, because I like Gracie. But those are my Buccaneer companions, so I hope y'all enjoyed. Let me know your opinions on my setup and how I use them. I really like making these videos. I'm looking forward to making more for my other 3 characters. But if y'all enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe if you're not already. It's always appreciated. And I will see y'all next time. Have a good one.